I chose an article entitled Assessing Book Knowledge Through Independent Reading in the Earliest Years, Practical Strategies and Implementations for Teachers by Bo-Young Lee because of how it pertains to young readers. Since I'm a kindergarten teacher, I'm interested in young readers and how to analyze and assess them. This article highlights the importance of assessing book knowledge so that the young children can become successful lifelong learners. It also gives good strategies that teachers can use in setting up reading opportunities for the young child, and it also gives examples how children can show that they understand the books that they are reading. It is important for children to be exposed to the printed word and have opportunities to explore books independently with adults. The author has done research that shows that having book knowledge is an important factor in developing young readers into proficient readers. Book knowledge is categorized into three areas, which are book handling knowledge, print knowledge, and interpretive knowledge. A checklist of book knowledge consisting of 35 items is provided to show how a child can be individually assessed. Book handling includes holding the book upright, turns pages correctly, indicates top and bottom, left and right, and using the pictures to make predictions. Print knowledge includes pointing to words, letters, and pictures when asked, and understanding that print goes from top to bottom. Interpretive knowledge includes labeling pictures, making personal connections with the book, and retelling by referring to pictures, problems, and resolutions in the story. By assessing these categories, teachers can understand social and cultural context to learn what motivates the students. Also, once the teacher assesses this knowledge, she can share with the parents to assist them in providing positive reading environments. By using this book knowledge checklist, the teacher observes a child's strengths and gets a better understanding of a child's abilities. The article gives good suggestions on helping teachers and parents being more aware of age-appropriate book knowledge for young readers so that they can develop positive reading behaviors. And as a teacher, it is very important for me to be able to create a good learning environment where my students will love and enjoy reading. So the next one is a website titled Resources for Early Learning Childhood Assessment would be especially helpful because of the variety of information and resources available to inform early childhood educators. It gives some pretty clear explanations about what assessment actually is and how it should be best utilized. It gives reasons why assessment records are so important, including the critical information they contain about a child's development and growth. It looks at the developmental areas of cognitive, physical, motor, language, social, emotional, and approaches to learning. It clearly outlines the different kinds of child assessment methods, both formal and informal. An example of formal assessment would be standardized testing, and examples of informal assessment would include observations and collecting work for portfolios. Observations are great because they really don't cause any real intrusions into a child's routine or activities. You can also check on all aspects of development on a continuing basis. So also I think portfolios are important because they can build that partnership between home and school and give parents a look at the schoolwork over a period of time and to see their progress from the beginning of the school year to the end. Standardized tests can be used to assess a student's performance across state or national standards. Both types of these assessments can be effective in a classroom because they help inform teachers, administrators, and parents about a child's learning and development. Since this website originates out of state, it lists some of the specific recommendations and guidelines that are available through the Massachusetts Department of Early Education and Care. But I think that they can be applied to any early childhood program. The first recommendation would be to determine what should be measured and then look at the tool that best assess that goal. The second would be the assessor should know the child and have a relationship with the child, with the ideal setup to have the teacher as the assessor. A third recommendation is that the assessment be authentic and take place in the child's normal setting, reflecting everyday experiences. Fourth, the assessment should include observations that are continuous and ongoing. If they are made at varied activities, the assessor has a better opportunity to fully observe a child's progress. And lastly, even though there may be different methods used, the assessment process is always a cycle. The cycle includes these steps: instruct, observe, document, reflect, analyze and evaluate, summarize, and plan. And then the cycle repeats to instruct. This cycle gives educators the chance to make changes to their curriculum and serve their students in the most effective way. A how-to website titled The Authentic Assessment Toolbox, put together by John Mueller, provides reasons for authentic assessment practices and gives some criteria for how assessments can create authentic tasks along with tools to integrate teaching, learning, and assessing. It provides answers to the questions: what is authentic assessment, why do it, and how do you do it? Explaining what authentic assessments are and identifies the characteristics, strengths, and limitations. It also compares and contrasts authentic and traditional assessments. On the why question, it explains why authentic assessments have become more popular and how effective they can be in the best serving the assessment needs of students. Under the how question, it explains an overview of the process along with detailed steps to create an authentic assessment. Its main topics include standards, tasks, rubrics, portfolios, constructing tests, workshops, and a glossary. The standards section gives an overview of what we want our students to know and what we want them to be able to do. Standards are a necessary requirement in authentic task and task design. Overall, standards should capture what we want our students to learn and can be classified into content standards, process standards, and value standards. The task section refers to the real-world applications that educators ask students to perform. The rubric section helps an educator use scoring scales and gives a look at how to assess the quality of a student's work on authentic tasks. The portfolio section gives some great tips on how to best utilize portfolios and the data included in them, so they can tell a real-life story of a student's growth in learning. The constructing test section is a guide to create the types of tests that can complement authentic assessments. Throughout the website, there are italicized and underlined terms that can be clicked on for a definition. In addition to that, there are a number of words and phrases typed in green text that can be linked to another page for further explanation. For a step-by-step look at an example of writing a good standard, creating an authentic task, and creating a good rubric, the author takes you along with an imaginary teacher to help model and capture the process. This website was a great tool for me throughout the semester, and it gave me a lot of good tips for creating authentic assessments in everyday real-life situations in which they can be used. For my fourth resource, I have chosen the DIAL-4, which stands for Developmental Indicators for the Assessment of Learning, 4th edition. It is an early childhood screening tool that is designed to determine whether a child is developing within the average range compared to a national norm group, or whether there may be an indication of a possible delay in development. The DIAL-4 also comes in an abbreviated format called the Speed DIAL-4, which is the assessment we all give our incoming kindergarten students. The speed dial, along with the regular dial, examines 10 core items in 3 major areas consisting of motor, concepts, and language. Motor includes a look at the child's large and small muscle control and coordination. The concepts section looks for a child's beginning understanding of body parts, colors, counting, naming objects, concepts, and shapes. Language looks for a child's ability in speaking, articulation, sounds, problem solving, and rhyming. All of the tasks on the screening are arranged developmentally, so the students are not really expected to display every skill, nor are they required to perform each skill perfectly. The timing of the speed dial is usually about 25 minutes with the educator and the student. The administrator of the test should be positive and encouraging throughout the screening and is recording the scores as the student displays the task. Once the student is dismissed, the teacher or other professional who is administrating the test completes the abstract where comments and observations can be made. The teacher adds the response scores to find the raw score and converts it to create the weighted score. The next step is to find the total score and the percentile rank, and if the child falls into a certain rank, the OK box is checked. Depending on scores, the administrator may check the box that says potential delay, which is the need for a follow-up or a referral for further testing. All administrators should be mindful of language, cultural differences, or environment, or other factors that may be involved in the assessment score. Parents should be informed of the results, especially if there are concerns noted. When parents are involved and informed, there is a greater chance that the partnership between home and school becomes a positive one. As kindergarten teachers, we look to this assessment tool to get a glimpse into a child's potential performance in school, but we have to remember it is just one part of the story. We need to avoid any labels, but should be focused on the fact that each child is an individual with their very own strengths and weaknesses. It is our job to use all the tools at our disposal and so that we can meet the needs of each student and hopefully create a path where they can be the best version that they can be. So for my final resource, I have chosen a variety of assessment methods that I have used in my kindergarten classroom or items that I have researched when planning my own assessments. I have received worksheets, checklists, and suggestions from seasoned teachers and often use the pre and post tests provided by some of our textbook publishers. I use running records, participation charts, anecdotal records, and other procedures that describe, count, and rank. These tools can take the form of a formative or summative assessment and are both needed tools to best document and report on teachers' instruction and students' learning. I've included a readiness checklist that looks at colors, shapes, numbers, letters, and the child's written name. I also show a spelling inventory that we do at my school and indicates the developmental stage where the child is and what skills have been mastered. From this test, we also gather the information we use to determine which level book should be assigned to each child. These are just a couple of examples I have chosen to share with you, but the internet, journals, textbooks, and other education professionals are just a few of these sources of valuable information that we can gather suggestions so we can provide our students with the most effective, authentic assessment.